Welcome in to Bears Weekly, powered by IGS Energy, a Chicago Bears network production. Bears Weekly is brought to you by Advocate Healthcare, Athletico Physical Therapy, CDW, Connie's Pizza, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Jeff Joniak, a.k.a. the Mayor of Bearsville, and his sidekick, Tom the Surfmaster Thayer.
And a pleasant good evening, everybody. Welcome in to another edition of Bears Weekly, headed towards the home debut of the 2024 Bears and what will be a raucous welcome indeed for rookie quarterback Caleb Williams and the rest of the Chicago Bears who worked in the rain today against the Cincinnati Bengals here at Hallis Hall. I'm Jeff Joniak. My broadcast partner, Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer along. Our special guest this week, an interview with Bears defensive end Daniel Hardy. He had such a terrific game along with Austin Booker in Buffalo, but now it's moving on to Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's guys practice today with the Bears. They'll meet on Saturday night at Soldier Field in the ESPN studios. Spinning the dials tonight, Kendra Smith. Thanks to our producers, Dan Brilli and Jordan Tredup from the Bears. And the executive producer of the Bears Radio Network is Eric Ostrowski. Tom Thayer joining us now. Big Tom, practice with the Bengals, just like we did as kids when we played in the park in the rain. It was nice and pouring, but, a little slip and slide here and now and again. But overall, got some good work in today.
A lot of good work. The atmosphere was a good working atmosphere. The conditions weren't the perfect. But, again, every time you get a chance to go up against an NFL player, I think you have a chance for an improvement. And then the defensive front that they are facing against the Cincinnati Bengals was much more beneficial because they've been playing against their own front since the beginning of OTAs, minicamp, and training camp.
All right. What is the first thing you learned about what you saw out there today? It's hard to digest everything. We said this when the Miami Dolphins were with us. We said it a long time ago when the Bears practiced with the Rams at Western Illinois. Remember, we're up in the what do you call those things? The lift? With,
yes.
Who was the Rams with the head coach that was here in Mike Martz and the guys. It's hard to digest everything.
Well, the thing about it is you don't want them to be able to have everything digested before you face them. You want to have a guy like Caleb Williams, a young quarterback, that's seeing personnel, athleticism, different lineup of defense for the first time in something you're not necessarily prepared for. Because now you're putting into practice the work that you put in during the course of meetings, and you have to reconfirm the information you learned about your offense can fit according to the defense you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying I had your eyes take you everywhere. You want to watch the number one offense against the number one defense of the Bengals, but you want to watch the defense of the Bears against Joe Burrow, and it's hard to take your eyes away. You know what it is? It's honestly hard to take your eyes away from Caleb Williams and the offense to see what they're doing. But I did manage a few snaps with Jason McKee out there on the practice field today. And Jalen Johnson just keeps making plays. The defense keeps making plays. The linebackers keep swiping the football. I mean, another one today by Tremaine Edmonds. So, and that's against a very, very good quarterback there, an established quarterback in Joe Burrow today.
Yeah, but he's facing 11 strong on the Bears' first-team defense. And so he's got to be saying in meetings tonight, boy, the Bears can really play fast, aggressive, back seven defense, and they're complemented by good rushes up front. So I think depending upon where you're having your conversation, in the meeting room with Cincinnati or in the meeting room with the Bears, is kind of the same thing. Because I mentioned Caleb Williams being able to enact his system and the players that are involved without a lot of preparation time.
Also a good day, I thought, for Rome Odunze. All right, we've been waiting to find out what's going to happen on Saturday at noon at Soldier Field in terms of the Bears starters. Here is chunks of today's news conference with head coach Matt Eberflus.
In terms of the starters this week, I'm just going to say this. We feel really good about our plan and the process that we've been through so far in training camp. And you will see the starters in that game. So, again, I talked about competitive reps the other day, and I feel like we've gotten a lot of good competitive reps, ones-on-ones, a lot of good situations. This day was another chance for us to get competitive reps against another opponent, another skill set, which was outstanding. And then this week coming up on Saturday, we get another chance to get some reps there too. So we feel really good about that. It was great to be out there in the weather today for really everybody, just because of the ball. That you have to handle the ball differently in the wet. And it was wet out there. And it was a pretty good rain at times. But not only that, it's also the footwork. The footwork matters. You got to keep your feet under your frame. You got to make sure that you're doing a good job with your footwork, in terms of planning, driving, moving in that wet condition. So I thought that was a good experience, too, for really everybody.
How has Nate Davis looked since he got back out to practice? And you were different talking about a player that's been out for a while with injuries with us as you have been maybe in 3 years with him. Do you think was that used to get a message through to him?
I will just say this about Nate. He's been working to get back, and he's done that. And it's unfortunate that he's had those injuries that he's had in his time here. But again, he's worked every time to get back, and when he was back, he did a nice job in there. So again, that's a competition. We're looking at that for who the best inside players are for us. That's not solidified yet at center or at that one guard position. We feel really good about Tev at that one spot. So we'll see where that goes going through this week and moving into the next week.
When do you think Bates will be back out there?
Yeah, he's week to week right now, so I don't really know. I'm hopeful that it's soon. So I hope we'll see.
Matt, with Bayless going from, I think, with twos earlier in the week and getting some 1 reps today, what has he shown you to earn those starters reps?
Just toughness, and he's able to handle that position. You would think that, hey, come a receiver and then going back to, to the tight or the halfback spot is you got to have some toughness in there, and he does. And he's able to get the reads down, and he's slowly getting it. It's not easy to learn how to run the outside zone and the inside duo play and all the plays that everybody runs in the league. That takes some time. And then really about the protections. He's learning that. I know he was up here talking about that, but he's getting those too.
This might sound silly.
Like Austin Booker, who with every opportunity you've given him, he seems to.
You said Austin. You said Booker.
Austin Booker.
Okay. Yeah.
It seems with every opportunity to find his way to make an impact in some way. Does that make you want to see him out there possibly against the ones this Sunday? Saw him get some run versus the ones today. Maybe just to see, okay, you've shown it versus the twos, you've shown it versus the threes. Now let's see what you can do versus the best of the best.
Yeah, I think he's earned that. Now we got to talk about that as a staff, but we definitely rotate those players. Who we see as the rush group, so you're rotating at least 6 of those guys during the course of a game. If you have 8 up or active for the game, and he's really shown well in terms of that. He's, like I said, he's a natural rusher, real instinctual, doesn't predetermine prior to, and you saw that today again. He's got some guys just have natural slip and be able to turn the corner. He's got that, and so he's improving. And the most important thing he has is motor. He throws his fastball every play, and that's what a good D lineman does.
Next step for Caleb. Last week you said just the operation, awareness in the pocket for Caleb. What's the next step you want to see from him this week?
Just much of the same. Really, like I said, he's going against a different structure here, so I think that much of the same and improving and doing the basics of quarterbacking. And I think that he did that last week at a solid rate. There's a couple things with the footwork under center and those types of things where he's got to improve, and he's worked on those this week. But really much of the same and just a leveling up, as we go through these weeks.
All right, Matt Eberflus portion of his news conference with the media up here at Halasaw. I got a couple of notes, Tommy. One about Booker, because that was one of the last things you talked about. What you're noticing, as much as the power and the overall width and size and length of Javon Dexter, but when they loop Booker inside, he's wiry. He does have a long reach, and he gets his hands very close to not only tapping the ball down, but intercepting the ball, which happened at practice today with Joe Burrow.
Right. But he keeps himself separating from the blocker. He never allows a guy to get his hands on him purely, where that makes it that strong offensive lineman is in control of his upper body. And so when you look at a guy like Austin Booker, when he's rushing from the edge or he's working a stunt on the inside, he's very elusive, and he's really difficult for an offensive lineman to commit to him because he can slap your hands away, make you miss, and get into the path of the quarterback.
And we're certainly excited about hearing the starters are going to play. How much we'll know when it actually happens. Yeah, so we'll be looking forward to that.
I'm glad they're going to play, and I'm glad they know this beforehand because it changes your mentality a little bit getting ready to go to the stadium on Saturday, knowing, okay, when I put my uniform on, I am going to get out there and get some valuable reps.
Only bummer today, fans couldn't be here. The weather was not conducive for that kind. In the fear that lightning would cause a delay in practice, everybody have to get indoors at the Payton Center. The place is just not big enough to hold everybody. So there could be something in the works, though, to get fans out here next week. All right, that's Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. When we come back, we'll be joined by another pass rusher of note, especially pairing with Austin Booker in the win over Buffalo. Daniel Hardy joins us on ESPN 1000 and the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network. We're brought to you by IGS Energy with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak. Tom will rejoin us in just a moment, but pleased to be joined by defensive end Daniel Hardy, the Bears' third-year player out of Montana State. Wonderful performance in Buffalo. I mean, you talk about a tandem attack with you and Austin Booker. A way to go. That was a wonderful experience to watch two pass rushers get after it. Identical stat line. I don't know if you know that.
Really?
Yes, you guys had you had 5 tackles each, 2.5 sacks each, same number of tackle for losses. So you guys, as a pair, did some damage.
Hey, man, that's what we're all about as a D-line, man, just wrecking shop.
Yep, and how did you guys play off of each other? Because that's also something that defensive ends, when you're really cranking, you guys can play off each other even though you're on the opposite sides.
Oh, absolutely, especially, the energy aspect of it, kind of. It's everybody's second preseason game. Everybody's still trying to make sure you don't mess up. And it was just we got to a point in the game where some of the vets came in and they said, make sure you guys are celebrating, man. Make sure you're loving each other up. And so we really made an emphasis of that, and we just started feeding off each other's energy, and it just kept building and building and building. Not just me and Book, but, the whole D-line as a whole, and just playing as a team, rushing 4 as one and getting after the Q.
Yeah, I'll tell you, watching Hard Knocks last night, Eberflus was mic'd up, and he kept asking for a takeaway, and he wanted points off the takeaway, and sure enough, the pressure breaks pipes, and Micah Baskerville comes up with a pick six, saw it a mile away. I almost got too excited when I was calling it because I could have called it before they even got in his hands, but they marry together, obviously, and that's what will be the mark of this football team in the big picture. How do you feel that's coming along as a unit?
We're building every day.
Yeah.
You can never be perfect, but that's what we're striving for, and we're getting better and better every day, and we continue even when the season starts. That's still going to be the same thing. We talk about that a lot, of just every day coming out and trying to be better than we were yesterday, and just keep taking steps forward. And that's what wins championships. That's what wins Super Bowls. And so that's our emphasis, and that's the direction we're going to keep going in.
No easy way to get to the NFL, is there? I mean, what I always do when I prepare for preseason games, I always take note of the guys that have tried a long time to get here. There's a guy on the Bengals, and I can't recall his name right now. He's been cut 10 times, but he's still going after it. He was in the United Football League. And so when you're undrafted and you come into the league, it is extremely difficult. You were drafted by the Rams in the 7th round. That matters, that you were a draft pick. There's a certain attachment to that, but it's no guarantee, as you found out. Do you appreciate the guys that have been doing it a lot longer than you that are still trying to make a roster, a 53-man roster?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing more devastating than, coming out here. And there's nobody who comes out here and doesn't give it their all. And you're trying to, make the team, and then things just don't end up shaking your way. It might be a numbers thing. It might be because, you weren't quite, you didn't do everything right. But, nothing but respect for everybody who comes out here and who's laying it all out there and giving it everything they have. So, but yeah, no, definitely those guys who've been, thugging it out for years and years and years trying to make a team. A lot of respect for them.
And that is the hard thing about Hard Knocks. I mean, people seem to enjoy seeing behind the scenes, but when it gets later in the episodes, somebody's going to get called to come to the office, and that is a very, very hard personal moment that does not go well typically. It's hard to accept, but, and I don't know if you've been ever cut before, but it's an awful feeling for a guy trying to get to the NFL, isn't it?
Absolutely. And everybody says football is what you do and not who you are. But, when you've been doing it for as long as some guys have been, it's a piece of you. Like, it's not just you're not just out here doing this for fun. It's a part of your soul, man. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and not making a team can really it destroys some people. Yeah. It'll mess you up. So, but we're all warriors, we're all fighters, and so and that's why it's so. Just like I said, you have so much respect for guys who have been still trying for years and years and years to make the team because they're not taking no for an answer, and and they're not backing down from anything, and they're picking themselves up when they fall, and so you just got to keep your head down and keep pushing.
Daniel Hardy, our guest here on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network. So you came to the Bears after the cuts in the practice squad. So the benefits of being here now for the entire offseason, has it made you understand the defense better, get them a better idea of who they're dealing with here and what you're all about, not just as a football player but as a man, your character and so forth? Is it making a difference?
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like, even more importantly than the playbook and understanding the defense is understanding the culture. We talk about our HITS principle, the hustle, intensity, the ball, and smart, and understanding that culture and how it plays into every single aspect of our game is very important, and it gives you the ability to buy in because I don't know about you, but it's a lot easier to play hard when you care about what you're playing for. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And getting to know the guys and developing relationships with coaches and staff and all of that. So very important, and I've enjoyed every minute of my time here.
How about Travis Smith? Again, second season with him. Has he unlocked anything that previous coaches haven't unlocked with you?
Really, it's just talking about mindset and understanding. You come to work every day and things might not, always go your way, but you got to be the same person every day, and you got to, just figure out what works for you and what isn't, and then you got to make those changes. Trav doesn't, and that's the other thing. Trav don't miss a single detail. If you mess up one thing, he's not going to let it slide because he doesn't want you to develop bad habits. So he's going to be right on it right there. And so, excellent D-line coach and doesn't want anything but the best for all of his guys.
You know what impresses me about coaches, and I've been a part of this organization for 28 years, so I've seen a lot. What you just said, they notice the slightest thing with a hand placement, your footwork, whatever, the way you get off the line of scrimmage, where your pad level is, but it's in an instant of time before they even watch the tape. And then the tape clarifies what they saw at that coaching moment. Do you have a lot of respect for that, too? Because you got to have your eyes trained as a coach to notice even the slightest little things that can make you a better player. Absolutely.
And then what's even more impressive is that, especially with guys like Trav, he's not just doing it for one position. He's got four pretty much, defensive ends are kind of the same, but the two interior positions are a little bit different.
Yep.
And he's doing it for all of them. And he can coach every single last one of them, and just like you said, understanding those the minute details of every single position and the nuances that come with that, and being able to help develop somebody from their rookie season, guys who just coming in, and then also working with guys, vets like DeMarcus Walker, Jacob Martin, Montez Sweat, guys who've already been doing this, and being able to work with both different types of players is phenomenal.
All right, so let's get to your story a little bit. Beaverton, Oregon. Home of Nike, right?
Yeah.
Yep, Nike. I remember going out there. It's in the Nike store there. The big one on campus. You go to Montana State. You're drafted by the Rams. But prior to that, the college route, I can't even pronounce the name. I know it's in Weed, California, believe it or not. Is it Siskiyou?
Siskiyous, yeah.
Siskiyou. The college of this. Never heard of this college in my life. I thought I seen them all. It's a community college named after a mountain range along the California-Oregon border. Do I have it right?
Yes, sir.
So I did my homework. Why there, and what did it do for you to get to Montana State?
Really, it was honestly, it was kind of it was the only option I had.
Wow.
Because I didn't play football until my senior year of high school.
Okay.
And so, was really I was paying my own way through college, so was really trying to pick up a scholarship, any way I could. And, Portland State wasn't too interested. Some D2 schools around D3 schools weren't interested around the area. And really they, by the grace of God, the coach just happened to be in town that day recruiting somebody else, and he heard I was available and stopped by the school, and we sat down and we talked, and it was affordable enough for me to be able to play, work, and go to school there. So that was the route I took, and it was also it wasn't too far away from home. I was also dealing with some family stuff at the time, so I didn't want to be across the country or anything like that. So was really just ended up being a perfect spot for me in that situation.
So what was your sport prior to football?
Basketball.
Okay, basketball. So here comes the 40-inch vertical. I get that, right? So how much weight did you play at in basketball, and what'd you have to do to get it?
I wasn't even checking my weight at that time, but I know I was definitely below 190.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So you put a good 50 pounds on since then.
Yeah,
wow,
absolutely.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a big weight room guy? Do you like the weight room?
I do.
Yeah.
I love it. And that's kind of when you've been doing this for long enough, and different guys are different, but it kind of becomes your sanctuary. And when you get in the room, it's like everything else kind of washes away. And the only thing that matters is you and the weight on that bar. So
you shined at your pro day. You weren't invited to the combine. Were you 240 when you ran a 4.6, and do you still hold that speed? Because that's pretty good. That's pretty good right there for a man your size.
Absolutely. Honestly, I mean, I haven't timed it, but I think I might be even a little bit faster. These NFL weight rooms, they'll do something for you. So
yeah, you never have to run another 40, right? Unless somebody challenges you. Right. One of 8 children, which nine. Okay, got that now. But P4WGH. You got to tell me what that's all about, man.
That stands for Play for Wilbert Gale Hardy, and that was my father. He had cancer. He got it. It was diagnosed my sophomore year of high school, and passed away my freshman year of college. And so I started writing that on my cleats, on my towels, on my stuff. So just as a constant reminder to me is this is why I'm doing this. Before he passed away, I let him know that I'd be there to take care of my my mom and my younger sister, because that was one of the big things he was worried about. And so when things get hard, that's kind of the things that I reflect on and use as motivation.
I read that he's described as a humble spiritual leader in Portland, in the African American community. So he was at the pulpit giving sermons. What kind of a sermon was he given? It's when you say dynamic, I'm thinking it's loud and kind of crazy. In a good way.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Any given Sunday, it could be anything, But it was always, his message was always trying to bring people to God, and no matter who was there, you were in the right place. As long as you were there, you were hearing the message. You were in the right place. That was his slogan. He'd always say it, and he'd have the church say it. Highland, you're in the right place. And so he was always trying. Especially his big focus was the youth, because kids more than anyone need to get to know God, and that was the path he tried to lay out. And he was really a staple in the community. And it honestly probably hasn't even been the same without him. So major loss, but he's in everybody's hearts.
What would he be thinking now, knowing that you've made it to the National Football League? You're with the charter franchise of the National Football League, the very first one, George Halas statue sitting out front, and you've made the most of your opportunity to get yourself in a position, and that's all you can ask for, to be in the right place.
Right, yeah.
So what would he think, and are you in the right place?
I think he would think so. Yeah. In my opinion, the Bears do things the right way. In terms of, like we talked about with the culture and things like that. And, I also would like to think that he'd be proud of the work ethic and the things that, all the effort that I put into to get to where I am. As everybody knows, there's no easy way, like we talked about, there's no easy way to do this. So really putting your head down and dealing with the struggles of everything and trying to handle all that, I like to think I make him proud. And hopefully this season we can make him even more proud.
Well, hope you'll be here. Quarterback record at Montana State, 16.5 sacks that one year that put you on the NFL radar. Are you stacking good days? Do you feel good about where you're at right now in terms of what you can show here as a pass rusher?
I never try and be complacent.
Yeah.
There's always stuff that you can improve on. I had a 2.5 sack game the other day, but if I do everything right and I get certain plays back that I could do over again, it would probably be more than that. So it's like you have to be able to, give yourself credit and feel good about where you are, but constant progression. Because, the second you say, oh, I got it figured out, that's when you get punched in the mouth. You know what I mean? So just, constant progression, keep getting better every single day.
Well, against the Bengals on Saturday, I don't know who they're playing. Doesn't sound like they're going to play starters, but they got a bunch of 6'8" tackles on the depth chart. I mean, I've seen more 6'8" guys. I'm checking to see if they're true 6'8" or not. Some are, some not. But a guy at 6'1" plus, you got a leverage advantage, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of great. You got built-in pad level.
Yes.
But those, you got to use your strengths where you can.
Right.
So
because once they get your hands on you at that length, it becomes a little challenging, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we won't let that happen.
Not at
right? All. Hey, you're a joy to talk to. Really enjoyed your performance last week, and keep stacking them.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time. Back with Tom Thayer with more here on ESPN 1000 and the Bears Radio Network.
This is ESPN Chicago, WNVP, WTBC, HD2 Chicago, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. Jeff and Tom, Bengals were at Hallis Hall today practicing, dodging raindrops. At times it would pour out there. And unfortunately, Tom, a couple of injuries for the Bengals. Don't know the severity of each, but both needed air casts to get carted off. And one was on kick return. The former Michigan running back Chris Evans, and then one of their backup tackles, Deontay Smith, had an issue as well. And it's sometimes these things are going to happen no matter where you practice against whatever. But it's just you feel bad. All the players are gathered around from both teams, feeling bad they get carted off here as they flew into these joint practices. But it was slick, and things happen. I don't know what
it's super unfortunate. I hate the fact that guys get hurt. But again, it's kind of the mantra of the NFL. It's a next man up mentality. And so if you do have a guy in front of you get injured and you're going to get some extra reps or extra playing time, first of all, are you in shape in order to pick up those extra reps? Are you mentally in shape to give the team what they're giving you in the meeting rooms that transfers to the field? But injuries, I always feel bad for the guys, whether throughout my career or some of the young guys I see now.
One of the guys we've been impressed with, I know because we've talked about him at great length, and every time he takes the podium or visits with me on side conversation, whatever, is Kevin Byard. Tom, I think he's going to have a big impact here. Let's listen to him at the podium today talking about the proceedings with the Bengals.
Yeah, it was fun. Obviously, a lot of rain out there today. Kind of favors the defense a little bit, but it was exciting. Obviously, I played against Joe Burrow, a lot over the years. I know how good of a quarterback he is. So anytime you get a chance to go up against him and kind of test out some of the things we're doing coverage-wise that can kind of confuse him a little bit, it's always fun. But I feel like the defense, we brought a lot of energy. Got some takeaways, got 3 turnovers, so that's always like the goal of the day, to get 3 turnovers. So pretty happy with what we've done and what we did today. We'll watch the film and just get better from the stuff that we need to get better at.
Can you take us through your pick that you had?
Yeah, just kind of trying to disguise the coverage a little bit and kind of really just read the quarterback's eyes, kind of took me towards the ball. Just one of those things where you don't really think, you just kind of react, and was able to, stretch out and go get the ball, get up, go pick 6. And like I said, it was fun. Like I said, the defense, we had a lot of fun today. I want to be the guy that gets a lot of turnovers for this defense. That's what brought me here for, so I want to keep that going.
Kevin, I know you got your own responsibilities in any given coverage, but playing with Jalen Johnson, does that allow you to play with a little bit more freedom, maybe take some chances the other way than you would if you didn't have such an elite corner on one side?
Yeah, I played with a lot of good corners over the years, Malcolm Butler being one. I had a guy, Logan Ryan, Dory Jackson, a lot of guys, but Jalen's definitely he's up there with the best ones I've ever played with. He's a true shutdown corner, a guy that when it's a lot of different coverages, the way we're doing things, like if I see Uno on a guy, I can just leave him alone and talk to the other safety on the other side of the field, like, hey, we can maybe push the coverage because I know he's not giving up anything. So he's a special player, and I've really been enjoying playing with him so far.
In regard to the weather, it was really coming down out there for a while. Did you guys know going in that you would hang out there unless there was lightning, or what was kind of your reaction?
Yeah, I know Coach had like contingency plan depending on how bad the weather would get if we would go to the Walter Payton. I'm always a big proponent. I don't want to be on turf at all if I can avoid it. So I kept preaching out there, like, stay out here. Let's just stay out here because grass is always better for players, and just in my opinion. But, yeah, a little bit of rain don't hurt anybody.
Was that fun, like playing in the rain?
Yeah, it's cool. It was kind of like a Remember the Titans type practice, training camp deal. We was out just making jokes on the sideline, you know what I mean? It was fun.
Defenses looked pretty good throughout the entire offseason. How close do you think you guys are to just playing in week 1 already?
I'm ready to play now, honestly. I know we have a couple more preseason games to go, and always things we can get better at. But I'm more than excited, for this group and ready to go out there and put our brand of football on tape. The high level football we played so far is really to be expected on my end, just watching us day in and day out going to work. So we just have to keep it going, make sure guys stay healthy, get everybody back. We still have a couple guys we need to get back and just keep working. But like I said, I'm excited for this group for sure.
Speaking of getting guys back, it's going to take some time for you and Jaquan to be out there together to some of the minor communication things that could be major on any given play.
Yeah, we'll see. I know he's close, but he's in meetings every day. We're still talking on the back end. He's been in this defense longer than me. So honestly, there's still some things that we're in meetings and he's helping me out with. But like you said, you do need, time together, get back out there, get the communication and everything going. But I mean, when one guy's not in there, it's another opportunity for another guy. And Elijah Hicks has been playing his behind off. I really like him. I know he's an undrafted guy a couple years ago. He has that chip on his shoulder. And you could just see it out there, whether if it's special teams or defense. And that's what I keep telling him, Jaquan, obviously he's going to come back, but every opportunity you get to come out here and go out here and show your brand of football, show your physicality. I've been enjoying watching him so far too.
It gets you excited to play football, Tommy.
Kevin Byard, he's a pro's pro, and you can hear a lot what comes out of his mouth. And he talks about, having a guy like Jalen Johnson next to him, and he's familiar with playing with a great cornerback, and then he understands what his responsibilities are, and sometimes how he can take advantage of spacing because of the corner that he's playing next to. Then you talk about him being ready to, let's go play. It's time for the season. Listen, man, it's going to be an 18-game season, and it's going to be a limited preseason. When you hear a veteran talk like that, you know that the amount of time that they've been on the practice field, he's ready to start the regular season. Let's get this thing going. The one thing I did disagree with him at the very beginning of his presser, I always thought in rainy conditions the offense had the advantage.
Interesting. Because
we know where we're going. We know what our next step is going to be. We know where we're anticipating you to be according to the flow of the play. We know how to get under balance as we're getting into a sharp cut or possibly turning a corner. And then he said he feels the advantages in the defense. I would like to have a lengthier conversation with him about that. Because when he said that, and I heard him this afternoon at his presser, I was kind of shocked that, he believed that the defense had the advantage when I sit here on the offensive side of the ball, and I think the offense has the advantage.
Well, maybe it's by position. Maybe when he's coming downhill with a head of steam and he's just going linear at somebody, maybe he thinks that. Well, it'd be an interesting discussion.
Well, just to amplify that just a little bit, Keenan Allen is such a premier route runner. And it's hard to anticipate what type of routes he's going to run. And now if you're overthinking it as a defensive back and you think, okay, I'm in a predetermined position where Keenan's going to go, and all of a sudden he's a head fake and cuts inside or vice versa, and now you're jumping into that position, trying to stap your cleats, the heel of your cleats in the ground to make that adjustment. Feet slip, you're on the ground, completion, there you go.
Yeah, and that exactly happened. He did a little head bob and, bam, ran an expert route. I say he's got a doctorate in route running and a back shoulder fade from Caleb Williams right on the money. There were a bunch of guys slipping early, and I think you go back to Coach Eberflus when we started the show, talking about how you have to play with the feet under you, and you always have been somebody who is thinking the same way, whether we're playing in icy conditions, if we're playing in snow, or over the years you've said, hey, make sure you do your job in terms of getting the right cleats. Ask Tony Medlin what you need to get the job done, and somehow play under your pads. Stay balanced. And is that easier said than done, Tommy?
No, it's pretty difficult because you're always trying to play the game fast. No matter what position you play, like you just brought up, maybe a defensive back sees it different than an offensive lineman. Offensive lineman, I break the huddle. I know the snap count. I know that I should react quicker than you as a defensive lineman. And when you try to react to me, and if I have a good stabilizing hands inside punch on you, I should be in control of your body. But the different types of surfaces that you play on nowadays, and if you are playing outdoors under icy or rainy conditions, you better be aware of what is your most confident footwear to wear on that game day.
You could tell how excited he was, though, playing, too, because he's had plenty of battles with Joe Burrow in the AFC, and so I'm sure he would have been looking forward to playing him on Saturday, but no starters, or most of the starters, not expected to play for Zach Taylor's Bengals. But Byard, his interception was terrific, a diving stab at the football, and a really, really nice play. All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll hear from Tom, his Tom Thoughts segment. There's always good. He's got good ones here on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
All Bears fans want unforgettable access to see the Chicago Bears play at Soldier Field this season. VIP official ticket packages now available for every home game. Unlock access to exclusive ticket packages that may include entry to in-stadium hospitality lounges, pregame sideline credentials, and the Chicago City Pass. Visit ChicagoBearsVIP.com or call 866-202-5755 for more info. Again, that's ChicagoBearsVIP.com or call 866-202-5755. Don't miss this exclusive opportunity with Chicago Bears VIP. Jeff and Tom with you on Bears Weekly. Tom's thoughts. What do you got?
You know, Jeff, so I was thinking about a group of guys, and I'm going to say all of them together and then tell you why. Matt Pryor, Coleman Shelton, Jerome Carvin. And then I look at your guy, that Daniel Hardy. I look at Carls Jones Jr. I look at Elijah Hicks. And I look at Ian Wheeler. So you think about injuries during the course of the training camp, and we talk about how unfortunate they are, whether it happened in today's practice by Cincinnati or guys that just get some type of injury that keeps them out of action. And then what does that person behind them do that's in line? Do they impress the coaches and realize that maybe they have a diamond in the rough and these guys have the ability to possibly make the final roster? A guy like Coleman Shelton, because of the injury to Ryan Bates and the injury to Nate Davis, may end up being the starting center for this football team because he's taken advantage of quality reps. Today, when you see him in one-on-ones against the Cincinnati Bengals, when you really don't have a lot of information fed to you by who you're going to be practicing against, he went out there and played the position of center, and he did it with strength, and he did it with confidence. And I think when you look at what he needs to offer this offense, maybe he is the starting center because of injuries and hiccups in front of him. And then you look at a guy like Jerome Carvin, number 63. We didn't know a lot about him coming here. He's got a big body. He's got a template of an offensive lineman. Where does his versatility carry him? He can play center. He can play offensive guard. He's an intelligent guy. He's a good athlete. So now all of a sudden he's on the radar of being able to make this football team, just like Daniel Hardy. Because when you think about him, you know, there was an injury in front of him to Jacob Martin. Now, who's the next man up in that line? It's Daniel Hardy. And look at the production that he's put on 2 game fields already. And Kevin Byard talk about Elijah Hicks. When you have Jaquan Brisker out of the lineup for as long as he's been. And, yeah, Elijah Hicks has some experience with this football team, but what do you do when you're running with the number ones? Do you play like a number one, or do you play with those coaches thinking, okay, who's going to be next in line here? And Elijah Hicks has answered the bell. So that's the one thing about training camp, and every one of us throughout our career, we're going to be faced with that opportunity. Where are you when that opportunity comes? Can spell the life of your career. And so just a group of guys, there's more out there, but those are just a group of guys that come to mind that have gotten extra reps because of injuries in front of them, and the coaches have really done a nice job of getting them mentally and physically prepared.
Now you mentioned Ian Wheeler took a great advantage of his opportunity, obviously with the 2 touchdowns in Buffalo today, running hard as usual, did on kick return. That was an interesting exercise as well because of that ball. Both teams had some issues holding out of the ball.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's going to be what's going to plague a lot of these teams through the initial experimental stages in the regular season. Because now, okay, we're used to seeing the great returners of the history of the NFL because the return was what it was for 100-plus years. Now there's different types of kickoffs, different hang times. They have different blocking in front of them. You got to read it more immediate. You know, the thing about it is the old-time kickoffs, you would sit there and catch a 4.0 hang time kick, and then you would have blocks that were set 20 yards in front of you. Now you're catching the kick and the blocks are right there in front of you. And so the eye contact, the eye process, the thinking of where the point of attack is, that's predetermined in the huddle call. There's so many issues that are facing the kickoff and kickoff return game, and I really don't think that we're going to be introduced to the interesting concept of this new play until the regular season.
Am I correct? A muff is going to be more dangerous, correct? Because of what you just said. Is this true? I mean, a muff, you don't have as much time to regroup.
We saw 2 in this past week's game in Buffalo. Yeah. Buffalo had one and Vegas had one. Right. So also now you're scrambling to make sure you control the football. And so then if someone gets beat immediately in their attempted block, now you're trying to be a creator. And those guys coming down to chase you are equally as good as what they're challenged with than what you are. So I still think, and I'm still excited about it, I think when the regular season gets here, it's going to be awesome.
That's Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. One segment to go. When we come back, we'll hear some of Cole Kmet, the veteran tight end, at the podium today after practice with the Bengals. This is ESPN 1000 and the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 23 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
This segment of Bears Weekly brought to you by CDW. People who get it. Jeff and Tom wrapping things up. Cole Kmet practicing against the Bengals and to play him on Saturday at Soldier Field.
Buffalo runs a similar type of defense to what we got with front-wise, and but with the Bengals here running with that 3 down, just to give us a different look, and we'll see plenty of 3 down teams throughout the season. So I think that's good for us up front in terms of how we're identifying things in the run game, pass game for protection purposes. So we were it was a quick turnaround to Cincinnati. It's not like we do a ton of prep on them going into this week, but it's always good to see different looks and kind of get that situated and learn from that. So you kind of get today, and then you get another day with the game on Saturday to kind of get that work in versus that 3 down front. So always good to see little different things, and obviously against different personnel is a good thing for us too.
The offense does have success, and Caleb impresses in his first debut. Do you guys get excited too to see what the next step looks like? What's that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was cool to see him do his thing out there, and when those lights came on, you can see the competitive side of him really come out. So that was really cool to see, and as he's flown and as that juice is going on the field, you kind of forget that it's a preseason game, and you're just kind of having fun out there playing with them. So really cool to see, and obviously we got to continue making steps here, and we got to be able to put 6 on the board instead of field goals in those situations. But I've liked the progress we've made so far, and I still think we got a little bit of ways to go, but definitely on our way to being ready for week 1.
And, he also was asked about Caleb compared to other quarterbacks he's played with, and he goes, yeah, he is different. He's different, and he just left it at that. We're going to see how different as the season goes on, but we've seen a lot of highlights so far and a lot more to come. Tommy, final thoughts before we kick off at noon on Saturday. What do you want to see? Give me 3 things quick. We only have about 50 seconds.
I just want to see a repeat performance by Caleb, maybe a couple of extra reps to keep on that positive building with this offense that he's had. I want to see the defense play as aggressively as they did, and as it doesn't come from Hardy and Austin Booker again, if it does, so be it. And then, I don't know, red zone. If they get in the red zone, like Cole said, we need to see 6, can't be satisfied with 3. And you'll be happy to know I saw both episodes of Hard Knocks, know a little bit more about the Bears after I've seen them.
Oh, you buried the lead, Tom. You buried the lead. We're out of time. For Dan Barilli, Jordan Treadup, Kendra Smith, and thanks to our guests as well. Bears Weekly on the new radio, the home of the Chicago Bears. We appreciate you listening. Bleck and Abdallah are next. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears Weekly, hosted by the mayor of Bearsville, Jeff Joniak, and Surfmaster Tom Thayer. Podcasts are available on the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon and Apple Podcasts. Bears Weekly has been brought to you by Miller Lite.